Troy and Abed in the morning.
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 Welcome back, guys. Nathan Budnett, episode 77. I got my man CJ Hoop Talks here as always, and you may notice something a little bit different. You may not be able to tell the difference as much since I'm using the Discord recording window, but you guys will definitely see it whenever I go full screen next time. I got a new camera, so you guys are seeing me in 4K finally for one of the first times. I got a ring light and everything. So we upped the production value. So hopefully you guys appreciate it. Hopefully everything is looking good. As well, once again, shout out the merch. You guys can go check that out. Link in the description below or nathanbutt.net. New discount codes are going to be dropping every podcast episode. So tune into this podcast. Every episode it comes out, we're going to have new discount codes. The one this week is going to be the same as the last episode, since we're just, for the first month that the merch is out, we're just going to have one code for the first month. And then in April, we're going to start doing new codes every episode. So for this first month, it'll be on screen here. It's going to be tip off 10. In order for tip off, every game starts with a tip off. So we're starting the merch off with a discount code tip off. So tip off 10 for 10% off your entire order in your cart. And then also and 120. That is AND-ONE 20 for buy two, get one 20% off your order. So again, those will be on the screen here. Go check that out. And again, it really helps support me. Again, we just upped the production value. So all the money that I make from this will go back to helping support the channel and all that. So anyways, with all that said, I don't think I have any other announcements. So we can go ahead into talking some basketball. So let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing I want to start off with, actually there is another announcement. So I'm here with CJ, and so I just wanted to mention as well that me and him do have another show as well that you guys can go check out, Shot Clock Talks. So it's a playlist that's on my channel, in his channel. It'll be up on one of the info cards on YouTube whenever I upload the video. It'll probably be in the description as well, but it's uploaded on both mine and his channel, so go check that out. We try and be there together every episode that we can. Sometimes I'm not there. Sometimes it's another guest because it's a group of 3 to 4 of us. So sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's not me. Just depends on how the scheduling works out. But me and CJ are both a part of that group. So go check that out as well. And anyways, I've been rambling for a while. I know you guys are excited to learn about basketball. So let's start off talking about the Pistons refs issue. So the best analogy I can give for this is that I know talking about referees is sort of like beating a dead horse over and over, but the problem is that the NBA keeps reviving the horse for us to beat it dead again. That's the best analogy or metaphor I could give, because it just keeps getting worse every time we see it. And I saw somebody perfectly explain it in the comments on TikTok that was posted by House of Highlights, or one of the big sporting TikToks had posted it. And the comment had said all right, so let me get this straight. The refs made 3 separate mistakes, and instead of admitting their mistakes, they called a tech every time somebody called it out. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. And it sucks too, because I want to lead this into talking about the Pistons as well, not just ref talk, but the Pistons are actually doing good this year, which is crazy. But it seems like they're just getting dicked over, and this will go into our MVP talk with talking about SGA as well. But there have been multiple coaches at this point that have complained about how the refs are kind of helping SGA and the Thunder. And I don't know. I'm worried that the Thunder are gonna start having a sort of a narrative as the Chiefs do if they go deep in a playoff run. I feel like they're gonna be the NBA version of the Kansas City Chiefs. So my mom's a Chiefs fan, so if she's watching this, sorry mom, but we all know what the story is there. So.
Okay.
So what do you think, CJ? Refs, like any of the points I said, refs helping the Thunder, refs being terrible, Pistons doing well.
So thing is, I really think Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he's our new age Kobe, our new age great shooting guard. We always have Shea is a point guard, but we always have an elite guard who's master at foul baiting. But if we go back and we watch back how these guys are getting these free throws, are just like that's not how they should be getting called because they got that superstar whistle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a common problem with people manipulating the game to get the favorable calls. But Shea, it's always been an ongoing problem since back then. Even when Michael Jordan played, you go back. There's actually a joke where Magic Johnson be like, when he was taking a picture, "Hey, don't touch him. It's gonna be a foul." It's always been a thing. Shea is just now getting his limelight where he's getting that superstar whistle. Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. I feel like it's wrong. I feel like when you should get fouled, that's when you should get these calls. But it's just nasty. The game, it's very nasty, and they absolutely robbed the Thunder. Robbed the Pistons because didn't Cade get ejected out of that game, right?
Yeah, that's why so many people were having an issue about it because they reviewed what they thought was a flagrant foul. And then after the review, they determined it wasn't a flagrant foul, but the refs were still lining him up at the free throw. And Cade was complaining and saying, you literally just reviewed it and said it wasn't a flagrant foul, so why are you giving him flagrant foul free throws? Like, you literally said he doesn't get free throws, and you're still giving him free throws. And Cade got a tech for that. And everybody was like, how are you going to give Cade a tech for literally saying you're fucking wrong? And then Cade just kept complaining because that's what always happens when a player gets a tech now, is now the player that was complaining before about something else got a tech, so now he's complaining about the tech, and now complaining about the tech gives him another tech, and now it's just like Cade is just the victim of complaining about his first tech receiving a second tech, and he got ejected. And that's whenever he like threw something, and that stood out to me because I don't know what he threw, but throwing stuff as an NBA player can always end badly. If you need proof of that, let's just go back to, once again, Detroit 2004. So
But on top of that though, like that's just terrible. It's always been a common thing. Like you said, it's like beating a dead horse. Like we always, it's a recircling thing. Like it's always this ref. But I would say though that this female ref, every time I watch her when she's reffing a game, it's just unbearable. She's literally favoring which team. Like it's very apparent. It's always I forgot her name. It gets on my nerve. You would think I would just remember her name, but yeah, she really used her power and to sway the game in games. Like it's rarely that a team that actually should win that game actually wins when it comes to that. So it's terrible. It's some terrible.
And like I feel like people are scared to talk about it as well because like immediately as soon as you say like, oh, the female ref is doing a terrible job, you're gonna have like all these people coming out and being like, oh, well, are you saying she can't ref just because she's a female? It's like, no, that's literally not what we're fucking saying at all. There's multiple female refs in the NBA that we think do like a fine job. Like there's the one that Luka always flirts with, and she's like, all right. But it's like there's certain refs that, whether they're male or female, just do a terrible job. If you think that we're complaining about them just because they're a female ref, go back to all our other podcast episodes where we fucking talk shit about Scott Foster and all these other male refs. I talk about Tim Donahue, who was caught up in a freaking gambling scandal with his refereeing. Like, we're not just the fact that coincidentally the ref we're complaining about is female doesn't mean that we're complaining that the ref is female. It's just that they're a bad
Literally.
ref and they happen to be female. Uh,
Literally.
yeah, but I know exactly what ref you're talking about. I don't remember her name either, but I agree. It
Yeah.
tends to be this one referee. And I don't know. Again, it's like we can talk about bad refereeing forever, but I always find it weird that again they find people that talk about bad refereeing, rather
Yeah.
than like, you know, they're trying to cover up the problem rather than addressing the problem. But again, that's been talked about for so long. But I really like how the Pistons coach wasn't scared to be fined and talked about it. And again, like the reason I'm bringing it up and like SGA and the Pistons and everybody is I did see like the clip went viral on Twitter of the Pistons coach complaining about it. And
Yeah.
I saw somebody on Twitter said like this is the third coach this month that's complained about the Thunder getting foul calls. And so that's why like I brought it up because like you know the old saying where it's like once it's something like once is normal, two is a coincidence, three's a pattern. Is what
Yeah.
people always say. And so that's why like I'm kind of like I don't know. I can kind of see people complaining about the Thunder. I get what you're saying about like some guards are just like historic for like getting those calls based on how they play. But at the same
Yeah.
time, that doesn't mean that they're not getting influence calls. Like even if it's based on how they're playing, that still doesn't mean that the argument that they're getting easier and better calls doesn't hold weight. Because I mean, that was a
Yeah.
whole thing with Harden for like a long time. It's like, yeah, Harden
That
was
was a huge
averaging
thing.
40, but he's still
Yeah.
flopping. Like he's still known as flopping no matter how good he plays.
Literally.
And then like these new flopping rules came out, and I don't know. So I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that like SGA and the Thunder are flopping, but I do think that they do have some calls that favor them sometimes, which is ironic for me to say that because last year I thought it was the opposite, where like the Mavs kind of like got a free throw like last second to knock them out of the playoffs. So I don't
I
know.
remember it was with PJ Washington, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Yeah.
like but like they literally like the Mavs won on like one or two free throws and like a game 6, game 7, whatever it was. So
Yeah.
um but
Yeah.
yeah,
I actually want to add one more thing on that too. Not to
no, I was
not
about
to
to ask. I was about to ask, do you have anything else? So go ahead.
yeah. I also want to add like yeah, all right. So yeah, we have great shooting guards that done that too, but on top of that too, we have centers like Joel Embiid, like who like
Mhm.
basically like it's always the manipulation with the game. Like it's
Mhm.
not like, I'm not saying it's an easy pass, but what they're doing, they're manipulating the game. But in the playoffs, it's just never gonna work. We always see the free throw drop unless you have a Laker jersey on. We always see the free throw attempts
Yeah.
always drop, you know what I'm saying? So it's just yeah, we've seen that with James Harden. We've seen that with Joel Embiid. We've seen that with who's a good another player? Trey Young, actually. Trey
Mhm.
Young, his free throws per game drop too. Like during the playoffs. Like it's
Mhm.
you don't get to the line as much. They let the physical game actually play out. So, I'll you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't really be worried about that come playoff time, but I mean sometimes it's still there, but it's just, not in late games or late in the quarter or the clutch time moments. Unless you have a Laker jersey on, probably. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's
I mean,
yeah.
trust me, I could go on forever about LeBron's free throw stuff, but no comment for now. No comment for now.
No
But
comment. Yeah, no.
what do you think about the Pistons in general, though? So one of my questions kind of was gonna be, um, who, along with the Pistons, who have been your biggest surprises so far this season?
Oh, I got you. Malik Beasley. To be
Oh,
honest,
you
the
went a
way how
specific
he
player. Okay, I was just
yeah,
talking teams,
yeah.
but all right.
Oh, I thought we was talking about the
No,
Pistons.
you can name a player. I just didn't know you were gonna
Okay.
go that specific. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of like
I
shocked in
mean,
a good
all
way.
right, look. I mean, I could go teams, I could go players. You know, which one you want?
Do whichever one you want. I was gonna say the Pistons and the Rockets, but you can say a player.
Oh, I could definitely get look teams. I'll say the Rockets. Nobody thought the Rockets was going to make this amazing jump. Also with the Pistons too. I'm trying to think of another team that I really thought, yo, there was gonna be like. I mean, can we do disappointing too, or is
Yeah,
just
sure. I mean,
okay? I just never thought.
self-deprecation, the Spurs got injured, so I mean.
Okay, all right. I didn't know the 76ers was gonna be the trash. I'm gonna be
I
honest
could
with
have
you.
told you that. I predicted that at the start of the season. They did exactly how I thought they would. I don't know how you're disappointed.
I
They need to stop
it had
signing
potential.
stars and give Tyrese Maxey a supermax. Or not wave, but trade fucking Embiid. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but fucking trade
Yeah,
Embiid, get
it's
Maxey,
not crazy to say
some
that.
other guards to build around. I've been saying for like the past 4 years or whenever Maxey joined the 76ers that they need to build around Maxey, and nobody's listened to me. And now all of a sudden
Yeah,
Joel Embiid's doing bad and they're like, "Oh, we should pay more attention to Maxey." And I'm like, "I've been telling y'all fuckers this for 3 years." So
I
that's how
think
it always
Joel
goes.
Embiid he needed to sit out for like 2 seasons.
Mm. I mean,
Two
he's
seasons.
already on that track. People have been complaining about that. So
Like,
careful what you
yeah.
say.
No. I mean, like his knee is like, all right. Look, I think there should be like a line when it comes to. You can't really blame the player for accepting a huge lucrative deal
Mhm.
because they're injured. You know, Ben Simmons. At some parts I blame him for not becoming the player he was,
Mhm.
but this man has crazy back injuries. It's always been there. Has always been a lingering problem. When are we going to start blaming the front office for giving them these lucrative deals and not giving these crazy clauses? You know, because the track history always been there with Ben Simmons.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid, he didn't even play his first season
Yeah.
off his own foot. So I mean, you know, the track history was always there. This man always been, you know, battling with injuries and everything. Now Paul George, that's something that I wouldn't have gave him that deal. He's old. He was
Yeah.
just old. Yeah, that was. But like, when are we gonna just start blaming the front office? Who? What? You
Mhm.
know, like why? Why we always have to put it all on the player? Because I'm pretty sure Joel Embiid, if it was up to him, he would play every single game. But his knee is shot. Like, you know, he's afraid to jump. I think there was the one time in the playoff series when it was going against the Nets. This man Nicholas Claxton, he was scoring at ease because Joel Embiid literally couldn't jump.
Mhm. No, I've
So I
complained
mean,
about the front office multiple times. Or
yeah,
it's because I talked about that in my Jimmy Butler video as well, where like everybody thinks Jimmy Butler's like complaining and crying his way off of every team, just like Harden does.
yeah,
But it's really the front office and his teams just don't want to pay him or don't care enough to win like he does.
exactly.
And I talked about Paul George, when he got signed as well, and I talked about like this isn't gonna go well. Um, and again, like everybody, I saw like a lot of people like complain, like blaming the player, as you said, being like, oh well, Paul George. I don't remember the exact number, but let's say it's like 125 million. um
Yeah,
Somebody was like, they were blaming Paul George, like, oh, you're getting paid 125 million, you need to play as if you're getting paid 125 million. It's like, or the
yeah,
front office could have just not paid him 125 million in the first place. Like,
literally.
yeah. So I get blaming the front office. I do that. And again, I feel like other fans need to do that a bit more as well.
Yeah,
I think it goes both ways though, because I do think there are certain instances where the front office is blamed too much. In cases where like the players are just ass or whatever. Um, so I think it goes both ways. I think it just needs to
yeah,
find a balance, more necessarily. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I predicted that like the 76ers like would do this bad. Like I made a video a long time ago, like I don't even know if you watched this video. You might have, but it was like one of my like OG videos. So it may have been like right when like me and you got like together. But it
okay.
was, I talked about how Joel Embiid was Zion before Zion. And I talked about how when Joel Embiid was drafted, there was like a story that came out that like he went to Chick-fil-A and he ordered 75 chicken nuggets, like 3 milkshakes, a whole plate worth of cookies, and like some other shit.
Damn.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
he was eating just as bad, if not worse, than Zion and sitting out, and
Yeah.
people were giving him hate. And now like he's sitting out just like Zion has been. So I think Embiid's just like he's gone full circle where he's turning into Zion sitting out again. And then with Paul George, it's not necessarily Paul George himself, but just any star. I've said the 76ers need to stop signing stars and just build around Maxey. But they keep getting these washed players. And I saw something that was like, it was a funny meme I saw over the weekend where it said the 76ers are now being investigated for tanking. And somebody sent a screenshot of the starting lineup for like the game that weekend. And it was like all bench players that like you've never heard the name of. Like it sounded like a bunch of G Leaguers. It was like their starting lineup. And somebody said like, yeah, Adam Silver saw this and immediately started the investigation because of like how bad their starting lineup was. It was crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so 76ers was a big disappointment for you. Who was a big surprise besides the Rockets?
Oh, definitely the Pistons. Yeah. I remember I was telling you I was like, oh, the Pistons they didn't really they just went and signed Tobias Harris, which is somehow turning to be like a underrated pickup. But other
Mhm.
than that, like yeah, it's just definitely the Pistons. The Pistons they're playing better. Um, a team that I will say next year that we should be watching out for is Trailblazers. Definitely
Mhm.
gonna be, you know, not playoff team, but it's gonna make some noise. Like they're making the right steps into like making some noise. I'll give it like another season or two before they, finally get everything together when they start making an eighth seed. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
honestly haven't been keeping up with them like at all. So like how well are they doing? How well is like Scoot doing? Cuz I know he went to the G League for a little bit and like I feel like
Yeah.
he's just kind of vanished. Like everybody's talking about Wemby. I haven't seen one news article about Scoot yet. And
Yeah.
I have on my list of videos to do like
Yeah.
is Scoot Henderson officially a bust? Because I feel like bro just got drafted and then a news article came out that he went to the G League and I literally have not heard a single thing since. So if he's doing good on the Trailblazers, please enlighten me, but otherwise I feel
Um.
like bro is just gone.
Yeah. So I'll say like there was like a stretch where Scoot Henderson was playing like amazing.
Mhm.
But he kind of I won't say he flared out, but yeah, he definitely was like the beginning of the year he was playing horrible, but the way how 2025 started, that's when you starting to see like the flashes that he's becoming one of those dudes.
Mhm.
But their team, I like their size. They got this one player it's called like Tsunami Kamara. Man, he's one of those guys like on the 3-and-D. Like if you're like a playoff team, you would just love Tanami Kamara on your team because
Mhm.
his defensive versatility is just amazing. Then Shaden Sharp, he's a that dude too. And they're just battling a lot of injuries. Uh which people don't really talk about these teams, so that's why like I take a chance to watch them to see what's going on with them. Like the Utah Jazz, they're a trash show. I'm not even gonna lie.
Mhm.
Like Laurie Markkinen is not the same player. I feel like I'm rambling wrong for now, but
You're good.
like it's always good to like see some players because you don't know, maybe one day these teams they take a chance on them, they trade for them, then all
Mhm.
of a sudden you know, they play for, let's say, the Celtics, or they play for the Lakers, or they play for another championship squad, or you're just like, oh wow, that man is really nice at basketball. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, remember, you used to be a big Bobby Portis fan. Remember
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
and
He played for the
was
Wizards
cracking
and
his
nobody liked him, and then he went to the Bucks and he was like the savior of the
yeah,
2021 championship. So,
literally, you know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those moments,
mhm,
you just want to keep in the sway of things, It's always just to like keep your mind open because not everybody's playing winning basketball, but of course, like you gotta recognize talent, be like, oh, that boy nice. You
mhm.
feel me? Yeah.
That's a conversation that comes up a lot whenever I record with like Swisseel, because
Yeah.
Swisseel, like for people that don't know, Swisseel used to work like at UNC, like as part of their basketball program. So
Yeah.
he's like hung out with like some future prospects and like shit like that, and like some players that have eventually gone on to play in the NBA and stuff.
Mm.
And one of the things like he said that I always found like funny and stuck onto is he said like people forget that the players that are in the NBA are in the fucking NBA. He's like, and what he meant by that is like you could look at some player that
Yeah.
gets like 0 fucking minutes and is terrible, but they're gonna fuck your ass up if you play him in like an LA Fitness. Like everybody hates on like Ben Simmons. Go play Ben Simmons right now. Get like he'll
Oh,
give you like a
never.
fucking 20-point head start and see how you do. Like these
Yeah.
players, even if they're like only making like 1 million a year and they're like freaking third string player, they're
Yeah.
going back and forth from the G League, whatever it is. NBA players are fucking NBA players, dog. Like they'll
Yeah.
fuck
They're
your
on a
shit
different
up.
level. Yeah. It's so crazy. I was telling my friend that I was telling Terrell that. Like I was like, bro, like he was like, oh, if I was 6'5", I would easily make the NBA. I'm like, okay, bro. Like
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you don't
He's
know the
turning into
skill
one of
gap.
those
Like,
people that's like, if I didn't blow out my knee senior year, I would have gone pro.
you feel me? Like nah, you gotta be him. Like if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you can be like a short point guard like Isaiah Thomas
Hmm.
and still like dominate, but that's still not enough. Like the NBA, these guys they eat, live, and train basketball, and their training on basketball is way different than our training on basketball.
Hmm.
They're training how to elevate their jump shot, how to beat these mismatches. You know what I'm saying? Like people think some centers can't shoot, like
Hmm.
Avicia Zubac, but in practice, this man will look like Stephen Curry.
Hmm. Did you
But
see?
he
So this is a good point, and also I think my camera just started acting weird.
yeah, it just froze. Yeah. Okay.
All I said, I was saying, watch the March Madness.
I do not keep. You gotta tell me about it, man. Okay.
I'm gonna cut that out from the full episode, so don't worry. Um, so there was this
Okay.
interview, like the fact that we bring this up. I know you don't watch March Madness as much, but there was an interview with a March Madness player where he basically said something along the lines of like, I am content with the fact that I'm not going to the NBA. He was like he said something like that's the nature of the people that play at this level. He said something like, I am content with knowing I'm not going to the NBA because I know in my heart that I could go to the NBA, but it's not my
Yeah.
dream, it's someone else's dream, and I want them to be able to live their dream. He said something like that because he's like, the cliche March Madness thing where like he's going to college for like accounting or business or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So he was saying like I could go to the NBA, but it's not my dream. He's like, the people that want to go to the NBA, they dedicate their life to it. They eat right. They build their body right the way they need to. And he's like, I'm
Literally.
good at basketball, but that's not what I want to dedicate my entire life to. I want to just get an office job and just work. He said something along those lines. Like, I'm paraphrasing and I'm probably misquoting, but he said something along those lines of like, I'll be happy with the fact just knowing that I'm good enough to he said, I think his exact words were like, I'm happy to know that I'm good enough to play any one of those guys on any given night. And like that got posted to TikTok and somebody was talking about like, again, like what we were joking about is like, one of these days he's gonna be an accountant and he's gonna pull up to LA Fitness and smoke everybody because in another life he is an NBA player, but he just decided to be an accountant instead. So I don't
And
know.
you know, so crazy. Oh, my fault. My fault. I didn't know you was finished.
No, I was just saying I don't know, like to end my thought. So go ahead.
They also, you bringing up March Madness. You know, there's people who you know, they win the national championship and they still can't. You think,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you win. You know, you win at the highest level of college basketball. Like people like Kyle Guy. You know who Kyle Guy is, right?
Dude, that was my guy in Virginia. That was
You
my
feel me?
guy. I talked to my
You
my
know,
mom.
he was giving everybody problems
My
during that
mom
whole
went to
run.
Texas Tech, and I had money on UVA. So like me and her were
Yeah,
watching that. That's one of the championships I'll vividly remember because my mom went to
yeah.
Texas Tech, so she was going for Texas Tech, obviously. But I had money on UVA, and so we were watching it together, going for opposing teams. And Kyle Guy was like draining these threes, getting free throw attempts, and he was going off. I was like, oh, I can't wait
Yeah.
to see Kyle Guy in the NBA. Bro, nothing happened. Like,
Nothing happened. He got, look, I won't say the opportunity was there, but when he did have the opportunity, you see the level, they were all the same level. Like, I won't say all
mm-hmm.
on the same level, but you know, there's a difference between, you know, being a player and being what you want to be. But
Yeah.
yeah, that meant you would think, okay, yeah, this guy, you know, he has this amazing height. You know, he just dominated college. You know, height doesn't mean anything. Like, you know, you have to literally be built for the NBA. Like, it's hard. It's
Yeah.
gonna be. It's not even hard. It's nearly impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly. Yeah.
Let me go back to my other topics I have to see. Um, we talked about the Lakers a bit on Shot Clock Talk, so I'll go ahead and skip that one.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and talk about uh let's do 3 more topics.
Okay.
I have award talk. We kind of already talked about MVP talk on Shot Clock Talks, but we could talk about more award talk like defensive player of the year, all that. I want to have a we can talk about Spurs and if they should tank or what the plan is for them. And then I want to
Okay.
have a debate over scoring records, and I'll explain more on that when we go to that topic.
All right.
So, award talk, I guess just broad question. Who do you think wins Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, All NBA? Who's kind of caught your eye for different awards? And I'll kind of just bounce off you.
Okay. Well, I mean, I can't give you my all NBA right now because I feel like that's still in the works.
Uh-huh.
But you know, there are certain, you know, positions that's already filled that's already a lock, like Nikola Jokic and Shea. They're
Mhm.
obviously first team. You know, there's
Mhm.
going to be some controversy there because you know you can make an argument that probably what Curry could be a first team all NBA.
Mhm.
Giannis is definitely a lock. So that's 3. Um, but you know, do you think the Cavs, somebody like a player on the Cavs should be all NBA first team lock? You know, that's the questions
I
that
give Darius Garland or Evan Mobley second team. Maybe not first team, but
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the questions that you gotta, you know, because you know
mhm.
a lot of these players they didn't make the 65 game threshold. So
Mhm.
you know, so that it makes you want to have, you know, those conversations where I actually made a video on this the other day, not the other day, like a while ago, where I'm just like, yeah, the 65 game rule is kind of dumb because certain players, we're gonna have players that shouldn't be there. But if we know we had those players, they'll be there. But
I'm glad you bring that up
definitely,
too, because I was gonna
yeah,
lead that into the whole Wemby and Defensive Player of the Year, but I'll let you continue, and then we
yeah.
can talk about that.
Wemby's gonna be my defensive player of the year, but
Yeah.
since, since he's not making it, obviously Dyson Daniels. What? Oh, huge jump. He's really my most improved player, but I don't
Mhm.
believe he's gonna win the most improved player award. They obviously give it to the guy who's gonna be substantial to the league, and have actual jumps. So obviously they're gonna give it to Cade. I think Dyson Daniels should be MIP. Uh, Definitely defensive player of the year, six man of the year. What? Ty Jerome, or Peyton Pritchard. I'm kind of leaning Peyton Pritchard because I feel like Ty Jerome, he's more of a system guy, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Like you put Ty Jerome on another team, he's not doing the same things that he's doing on the Cavs.
Mhm.
I'm not saying he's overrated, but this is like the only season he actually averaged more than 10 points.
Mhm.
So, that's but Peyton Pritchard, he's looking like sometimes like the Celtics hero having like 6 threes against like one of the best teams in the NBA. So why not?
Mhm.
Coach of the year. See, that's where I'm really torn up on. Who you got for coach of the year, bro?
It gotta be the Rockets coach, right? Who else do you
It's
have? Who else do you have?
look, I want to say JJ Redick, but I feel like y'all gonna start saying I love the Lakers
I
too
was gonna
much.
say Lakers meet.
Nah, bro, but all right, JB Bickerstaff definitely look. If it's not JJ, definitely JB because JB. Everybody expected for the Pistons to be trash,
Mhm.
and he come in there. He put Malik Beasley. He put all these guys. He put some vets together with Cade, which I feel like more teams need to start doing, except for just keep letting these young guys play and try to replicate the Thunder. Put some vets with these guys, some guys who can, their experience, what they're good at, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
definitely JB Bickerstaff, he'll be my guy, you know what I'm saying? What else award is there? There's MVP,
Clutch of the
ooh,
year or all that.
you said what?
Clutch player of the year is like the new
Oh,
one.
clutch player of the year. Clutch player of the year, I'm not really like in tune with.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna let you just answer that. And what else?
Uh, well, you said MVP, but I think we talked about MVP on like Shot Clock Talks. You talked about
Yeah,
SGA versus Jokic. My whole thing with
yeah.
the MVP is it's just gonna be a narrative again because SGA has the whole free throw narrative, but at the same time, Jokic has the voter fatigue narrative. So it just
Mm,
depends on what narrative wins. It's just a battle of the narratives.
yeah.
But um, I don't know. And I went on like a whole rant on like another uh podcast episode. So I won't go into it again, especially because it's like an old topic. But I talked about the All Stars, and I was like, I
Yeah.
don't get how all these people can have MVP voter fatigue, but not have All Star fatigue. I was like, this is the reason y'all complain that the All Star game is so bad. It's because these players like Curry and LeBron have been doing it for fucking 12 years. They just don't give a fuck anymore. I'm like, y'all need to put some SGA, some Wimbies, and shit like that back in the fucking All Star game. These younger players. Stop having, like, stop voting the same All Stars every single time. Even if they're All Star level. I agree Curry and LeBron are still All Star level. But shit, bring some
Yeah.
of that fucking MVP voter fatigue over to the All Stars. Change some shit up every now and then, and the All Star game will be exciting at least a little bit again. Like shit, it's not
Yeah.
that hard.
Also with that too, before entering the All-Star game, man, there was actually like I'll say 2 weeks before the All-Star game and everything, it was actually like, should Curry be there? Remember those
Mm-hmm.
conversations everybody was having to like, should
Yeah,
Curry
because he
actually
wasn't
be
even a
there?
starter like a few years ago, and I think it should have been. It's like, and I got a lot of hate on that one podcast I went on that I won't mention their name, but I bring them up every now and then, that I went on their show and we debated a lot,
Okay.
and now I don't work with them. You probably know who I'm referencing. But the Curry, when Curry wasn't an all-star, I went on their show and I said I'm happy about that, and I got like a bunch of like clapbacks, and I was like,
Okay. You talk. Okay, I
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah,
you.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
DM'd you about them, but
Yeah. It took me a minute to just lock in. You know,
but
like yeah.
yeah, and like, to be honest, like, I had a lot of takes on that show that I went on with theirs, and I still stand behind a lot of my takes that I had on that show. And one of them was like, I feel like Curry not being a starter that year was good, and we should have
Yeah.
continued that. And everybody was saying like, I can't believe that you agree with the fact that Curry shouldn't be a starter. And I'm like, well, I'm not like in the minority here. People voted on it. It's like
Yeah.
the votes speak for itself. Like,
Yeah. Nah, I remember I hopped on the same thing, and this was Tyrese Halliburton, breakout year, where he's looking like one of the top guards in the league still. And I remember saying I'd rather have Trae Young over Tyrese Halliburton because I knew it was not substantial what he was doing. He was just looking like some new fresh pair of legs. Teams really didn't know what to do, how to guard him yet. But now if you ask them the same question, you definitely would want Trae Young over, Tyrese Halliburton.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, they do get stuck up in the time and the moment, but they don't really see like that. The aspect, what I'm saying? Not the, shot that,
Yeah, we're
Gordon
not
down.
trying to start beef here, but like that's why that's why I didn't name them. But
Yeah.
I'll just say, me and CJ, we've had some negative interactions with some people, and so a lot of people are stuck in some recency bias or some bad takes, and now we just don't work with those people anymore. That's all I'll leave it at. So
and not to toot our own horn, but guess what, guys?
a lot of our
Every
takes have come
time we have
true.
literally, and we literally say what's gonna happen. It looks bad at that moment, but when it comes down to it, just be like, okay, these guys was right. They'll never go back and be like, hey, bro, you guys are y'all did it right. You know what I'm saying?
So
Never do it.
I actually, like, just to make a joke about that, like, me and my girlfriend for last episode made a March Madness bracket together, and she did the tournament has fully embraced the meme. I don't know. Again, you don't keep up with March Madness, but it's been a meme for a while, for like a few years, where it's like, oh yeah, my girlfriend just makes a bracket off of the mascots, you know? So now they have an official mode for that in the tournament picking now. They added a new mode this year, and it's called Mascot Picker, where you pick the team you think is going to win it'll show you a picture of the mascot, and you pick it based off the mascot. So they've fully embraced the meme now, and like are buying into that. And with my girlfriend doing that, she had New Mexico all the way into the Final Four. And like, I know like people are gonna joke about like picks like that, but I backed her up on the episode. I was like, I looked at the defensive stats, and I was like, what I said to her is, I was like, your New Mexico, or New Mexico to you might just end up being what San Diego State was to me. And what I mean by that is, a few years ago, I had San Diego State in my Final Four based on defense, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're a clown. They're gonna get knocked out in the round of 32. Like, they're not even gonna make it to the Sweet 16." And they made it all the way to the freaking championship game, and I was like, "What now, motherfucker?" Like, all that. So it's like, sometimes that takes that get the most hate end up being the most right. That's all I'm finna say. So
it's just. And so crazy, and not saying that we're always right, because we're not God or anything. It's just we're majority right. we get a majority of the time we're right. Like it just might sound crazy right then and there. It just might sound crazy.
Let's just sum it
enjoy
up
your
in one
ride.
sentence. Me and you aren't casuals. We'll just say that.
Yeah,
We'll just leave it at
literally. literally, it sounds casual when you say it, but then down the line, it's just
Yeah.
okay.
A lot of
Yeah,
people out here making sports podcasts, making sports Instagrams. They just watching the game
Yeah.
casually. They're not diving into the narratives, the stats, like the hardcore like analytics like we are. So
yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes like stats tell you a story. Watching the game tell you the story. I remember we was talking about it last playoffs. We was like, who's gonna win? The Dallas Mavericks or on the Thunder? And I was like, oh yeah, the Dallas Mavericks. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
I didn't know how they was gonna do it. I just knew the Dallas Mavericks is gonna win. You know, like sometimes you just
Mhm.
know.
And
You just
I'm
know.
the and
And
I'm the opposite way of that. I'm the stats guy because I remember you can back this up. I roasted the whole group chat when the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets. I had the whole group chat on my ass for the Timberwolves
literally,
beating the Nuggets. And as soon as they won game 7, I was like, "Fuck y'all want now?"
literally,
So, and that's like our friends that are like that's like the group chat that was messing with me, but like so yeah. I went a bit
yeah, no,
harder about teasing them back. And then we also have like the Mavs Clippers stuff. I mean, there's numerous takes that we've had that have been talked about, but anyways, again with going back to the original like topic, like I'm disappointed that Wemby got injured because he would have had that award on lock. This is the second year in a row now that I know this is going to get a lot of debate, but this is, to me, the second year in a row that he should have won it and he's not going to win it. Because last year, everybody was like saying, like, oh, no, Rudy Gobert won it fair and square. I was like, nah, he would have been the
yeah,
first rookie in history to have rookie in the year and defensive player of the year the same year. And they didn't want to do that.
literally,
So,
literally.
yeah.
And we both called that out. We was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be we was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be aged terribly. We're gonna look back on this and be like, come on, bro.
Mm.
He shouldn't have gotten it, you know?
What's the guy's name on the he plays on the 76ers. Again, he was a rookie this year. Uh
Oh, Jared McCain.
yes, McCain. That I was like what the fuck is his last name again? I did
Yeah,
make the joke though that I said this is karma getting us back for Jared McCain. Cuz Jared McCain would have won rookie of the year. He got injured and now Stephon Castle's probably going to win it. So the universe had to
literally.
balance itself out, and they were like, well, Wemby was going to win Defensive Player of the Year, but now he's not going to. So an
Yeah,
award that the Spurs would have won but didn't is balanced out by an award that we shouldn't have won but are going to win. So it's like, I don't know, you give and take in those situations. So
literally.
um the last thing I want to talk about is scoring record debate. So I've brought this up a few times, and I want your take. And it's a bit of a hot
Okay.
take, but the more stuff that happens, I think the more valid this claim becomes. I do not care about LeBron's scoring record, about Harden surpassing however many points he recently surpassed, Curry passing the 4K threes recently. I think the more records that happen of that just prove it gets more and more meaningless the more it happens. Because again, it just shows that we're in a different league. We're in an offensive league. We're in a 3-point shooting league. And
Yeah,
I say that because it plays into like me with the GOAT debate, because I know that you like LeBron as well, so you may have like you'll probably debate this side of it. But
yeah,
to me, everybody from now on is going to use like LeBron's scoring record as one of his points about like in the GOAT argument saying he's the GOAT. But I
yeah,
think that that point is null and void based on all of these other records that are now being set. KD recently had a scoring record or a 3-point record that he set like a few months ago or last season. Harden surpassed a record. Curry just hit 4K threes. It's just, I don't know. It's an argument that's made a lot where it's like, oh, well, what rules are we playing on? What era are we playing
literally.
in? But
Oh man, I said that
again,
last night.
yeah.
I said that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you said that on Shot Clock Talks when we were talking about
yeah,
debating the generations. But to me, again, it's a hot take, but at this point, I do not give a shit about scoring records. It's just like, okay, cool, that happened, and then we move on with our day. It's not as big of a fucking news story or as big of like a what's it called? Um a big of a story, as big of an accomplishment. That's the word I'm looking for. That they add to their resume as to me at least, as it would have been like 10 years ago. Nowadays, I literally feel like this is the best analogy I can give. Like 10 years ago, someone breaking one of those records would have been a story for like the next like almost half decade, about how we talk about like a player broke a scoring record or like broke a record, all that. It would have been like a crazy story that would have been talked about.
Yeah.
Like, remember the 2007 season when this player did this? And now I feel like a record is broken every two. Like, you know what I mean? It's literally
Yeah.
like even LeBron's scoring record. LeBron's scoring record, like, it happened, and then people stopped talking about it after a week, and then now it's talking about him breaking 50,000 again. And I'm like, okay, so even if he breaks 50,000, people are going to talk about it for like 3 days, and then the only time it's going to come up is in GOAT debates. Like, a record is broken like once a week at this point, and it's gotten to the point where I'm just apathetic towards it. I just don't care at this point. And I know that sucks, as like, especially in my position as a sports commentator, as a basketball commentator. I should be excited about these because it gives me content. It gives me something to talk about, like, oh, like Curry had 4K threes. But and it's like, I should be excited, you know, like, this is part of my job, this is part of my hobby, that like this player did this. But it's just so oversaturated. That maybe that's a good word for it. It's so like, it's just so reoccurring that it's taken the excitement out of it. And I know I'm kind of like talking in circles and re-explaining my point over and over, but I'm just trying to find the right words. That it's just, I think oversaturated is a good word. It's just so much that it's a record's being broken every week that I don't care anymore. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, my fault. You still going?
No, I was opening my mouth to say, like, what are your thoughts on that? I know you're a LeBron fan, so you may have like a different view, but like, what do you think of scoring records? Are they meaningless now? Should we still care about them on resumes, or what side of this are you on?
Man, I would say, all right. So obviously you're right. You're in a different era. Players are playing longer than they should have. Like, you saying this last night with Shot Clock Talk. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, now we're seeing like players like LeBron, they're extending their like careers out. You know, and it's not normal, but we have greats. The only thing I would say, like, let's put an asterisk on, is
Mm-hmm.
Curry with his threes, because obviously players back then, they wasn't shooting as much threes as great as volume. You know what I'm saying? Coaches
Mm-hmm.
didn't value his threes. Analytics didn't value threes, even though the numbers was right there where, you know, shooting three is better than a two. And teams didn't know how to make those 3-point shooting teams being like very lethal. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where it comes to the asterisks. But certain, you know, if we're gonna do that, certain things like back then, it can't just be applied right now. Then, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
rebounding title, like, you can't be the greatest rebounder of all time, and nobody back then could shoot outside of the rim 10 feet. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, like, you know, getting a 20, 25, 26 rebound, that's more impressive than I would think. Like, the record, what was the record back then? Like 30 something, 40.
There was a game that Dennis Rodman had like 0 points and like 40 rebounds, or like, look, like Jordan and Phil Jackson literally told him, your job is to grab the ball and pass it back out. And so that's what he did. And he had like fucking 30 or 40 rebounds and 0 points, 0 assists, all that. So,
But you see what I'm saying? Like, nowadays, you know, that's just not substantial. Like, that's not what's, you know, what really, you know. So I mean, I feel like that's just the evolution of basketball. People don't really want to admit it, but
mm-hmm.
uh that's our sport evolved. People right now, they are way better than what they were back then.
Mm-hmm.
Rules are not rules. The way how they dribble the ball, the way how they shoot the ball is more efficient. It's just better. It's just so much better. I do want to say this about the GOAT debate. When I say the GOAT, I wouldn't say LeBron is the GOAT because it's greatest of all time,
Mm-hmm.
not best all time. Because if you're doing best of all time, then I wouldn't say Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan probably it's gonna sound crazy, but I wouldn't have him top 10 because players back then they was leaving him out. Like they was going under screens.
Okay.
Nowadays you can't do that. Okay,
What's
like
your
he couldn't.
I'm curious if you could expand on that. What is your
Okay,
difference between greatest and best? Because to me, those are
yeah,
synonyms, and I feel like a lot of people would argue that those mean the same thing. So I'm curious what you
okay,
mean by that.
all right. You know what? It's so crazy. Maybe I'm not using the right words in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely can seem that way. But I separate. When I want to say greatest, I'm valuing what their accolades more than their stats or
Mm-hmm.
how long they played in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we're just going by like them combined, then certain players will get moved down around. And I like to rank players on the greatest based on what they did in the league versus what
So you look
what
at it
happened
as
to them.
most impactful versus best statistic. Is that a good way to put
You
it?
feel me? That's necessarily, maybe I could add more tweaks into it, more in that sense, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely that.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, if like LeBron now, like the way how he plays basketball, you stick him back then, he's probably looking better. He's not probably. He is looking better than 100%. They probably, try to get physical on him and everything when he drives, but you set a screen on LeBron. I mean, LeBron set a screen. You go under that. He's shooting that and he's greening it.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus back then, you had to be what, a 6'3" guard to be doing that, to have that type of quality, and that was still sometime-ish. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's my whole point. That's why I feel like the game just involved. It
Mm-hmm.
just very evolved. I really believe that Michael Jordan can't. If you stay prime Michael Jordan to now, he could hang, but you're gonna start seeing the levels. You're gonna start seeing zone defense. You're gonna start seeing these guys. They're just sticking in the paint because they know he can't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my whole point.
Okay. Um,
Yeah,
I won't go into like a whole like goat debate thing, but I've gone on record multiple times, and we even on episodes with me and you, so you've heard me say this times. I
yeah.
argue that there's different categories to goat, and I've said
Okay.
multiple times, LeBron, without a doubt, is the longevity goat. He will be the
Literally.
longevity goat for forever until like another player comes in and plays until they're like 45, if that ever happens. But
Yeah.
until that happens, if it ever does, LeBron to me will always be the longevity goat. But there are other players that like fit into different goats. And this goes into like Curry and Magic as well, because
Yeah.
I still am in the debates with people all the time where I say Curry is not the best point guard. Magic Johnson's the best
Yeah.
point guard. Because what a point guard does is they move the ball around, they make passes, they view the court. Magic Johnson does that infinitely better than Curry does. However, Curry gets open, he shoots threes, he gets points, he's the leader of his team. So I say he's the best shooter because obviously he started the 3-point revolution and all that. He's the best
Yeah.
shooter. Best shooter does not equal best point guard. And there's many other categories I can get into, but I think it's important
Yeah.
whenever making the distinction of when a player is the best, if they're what they're the best at. And you see that in other things that aren't even sports. You could go to the Grammys or the Oscars or whatever. There could be a movie that only won like 2 out of the awards that it's nominated for, and another movie wins like 5 out of the awards that it's nominated for or something. But the one that it won only 2 out of the best, 2 out of the one it's nominated for could still be the best movie overall that year. Because if you do everything as best as you can, it means that you are the overall best because you did everything, you excelled at everything just a little bit. It doesn't mean you have to be number one in every category, but you at least are iconic enough in each category. There can be a lot of people that beat you in these different categories, but best overall just means that you were
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, there could be somebody that scored 100 on the test, like in math, another person that scored 100 in English or whatever, and you're scoring like 85s, 90s in each subject, and you're still the best student because you had like 85 and 90s in each subject, while the person that got 100 in math has like a 50 in English or whatever the case may be. It's all about averages. If you're consistent across the board, then you're the best around. If you're like amazing at offense and you suck at defense, you can be the GOAT at offense and not be the best player because you're ass on defense. So I think that's all I had. So to kind of summarize your point, if I understand, you're saying like it just depends on which records are more important now. So like we're caught up with the fact that points, like while one goes up, the other goes down. So back in the day, rebounding and like block records like were less
Amazing.
were like
Amazing. We was gonna see that. Yeah, we were going to see like at least like block records actually being able to get broken. But nowadays, like getting 10 blocks is nearly equivalent to getting 20 blocks because these guys they have an elevation in their jump shot. I'm sorry, I just cut you off.
No, you're good. I was
My
basically summarizing your take, saying like,
Yeah.
so like back then, a points record would have been really impressive, while a rebound record is less impressive. And now a point record is less impressive, but a rebound and defensive record is more impressive. Because back then it was a defensive league, so defensive records were less important, and offensive records were amazing. Now we're in an offensive league, so point records are less important, and defensive records are like what stands out. So I think that perfectly summarizes it. I perfectly agree. So
Literally.
is there anything that you wanted to end the episode off with? Any announcements you got? I know on Shot Clock Talks, I talked about my merch and stuff, so I wanted to. I always make sure that whenever I have a guest, they have the platform. So
right now, it is nothing. Oh, wait, no, my fault. I said nothing. I meant Nathan, but net merch. You know what I'm saying? We definitely need. Like, come on, Nathan, do a 360, my guy. Like, show them off, man.
I mean, I've already done like a pro.
Yes, sir.
On the website as well, so you can cop it for spring season. And once it starts hitting April, again, we'll have new discount codes every episode. So I'll start dropping some discount codes for the short sleeves. So keep up with that. Follow CJ on YouTube as well. He's got a YouTube, so go sub to him. CJ's got me beat on the Instagram though, so you can go follow him on Instagram. I always joke CJ's the Instagram guy, I'm the YouTube guy. So I got him beat on YouTube, but he got me beat on Instagram. So we both got to help each other grow on the other platforms.
Yeah, we gotta get that.
We got to even it out for each other. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else, man, or we gotta end it off?
Oh yeah, we're good to end it off. Thank you for having me, man. You're always coming into my stuff, bro. So I mean, I have to come. I literally have to come. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and end it off there. So Nathan Burnett, episode 77.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.